the short videos, all dealing with emotional intelligence. And there's a link in there as well for you to become a friend of Express, because I want to make sure that you're connected to my network to grow your business and to grow your brand. Again, this is Donovan Hilton. My apologies, Lord Donovan Hilton. And I'm here with Lady Malika. She's not here, but Malika Hilton, she's not here, but I could not have done this without her. We are Hilton Elite Marketing Agency. Thanking you for your time. We will see you at the top. And remember, we're more than just marketing. Grace.
Hello, hello, hello. This is Brian Mcneil, the Sales Confidence Coach. And I am so honored to have this opportunity to share with you. And I'm going to get right into it, because not only am I the Sales Confidence Coach, I am a sales coach, sales trainer, sales author. And I really believe that there are so many amazing entrepreneurs out here that would earn so much more money if they understood how to sell themselves and their services the way that people buy today, not the way they bought yesterday or the way they bought 10 years ago. There's some of them are still trying to use antiquated selling methodologies. Now, I'm here to help them to sell more and earn more money than ever before. I'm gonna say up front, if you offer a service that genuinely does help people, then you owe it to them, OWE, to them, to sell it to them. As a believer, I have read in Proverbs 11 and 26 that the people will curse the ones that would hoard the grain. They wish blessings upon the ones that will sell it. Your grain is your intellectual property. Your grain is the solution to the problems that you resolve. Your grain is the way that you help the world. And if you have a way to help the world, then you owe it to them to sell. Pitching and tell your story. There might be one or two of you didn't hear me. Let me say it again. Stop pitching and tell your story. Hopefully everyone heard me at this point, to stop pitching and tell your story. Pitching was a concept that got popularized. It was always popular in this country, 60s, 70s, and 80s, but this concept called an elevator pitch got really, really popular in the 90s and moving forward. The concept is, can you get on an elevator with a stranger and tell that person what you do in such a way that they understand what you do, and maybe even be compelled to do business with you before the elevator stopped and you both got off? Learning how to do your pitch in that short time slot, 30 seconds to a minute, that pitch. I want you to stop pitching. I'm gonna tell you why. If I were in front of you and I pitched the ball at you, what would you do with that pitch? You're either gonna swing at the ball or you're gonna dodge the ball, right? Now, do you want your potential clients to swing at your offer or swing at your story, or do you want them to dodge you, or what do you want them to do? Or do you seem like positive connotations? Also, enough people still today of the word selling and salespeople that by keep going this whole concept of pitching and deals, pitching to a lot of people. Would you rather go and pitch? Would you rather hear a pitch, or would you rather hear a story? Now, we that love stories. Two types of people that love stories. One of them is children. Children love stories. And the other one is adults. And we know that to be true because we watch movies and television shows and we get engrossed in the story. Just yesterday, I watched a TV series called The People versus O.J. Simpson. Now, I know this came out many years ago, but I hadn't seen it yet. So I kind of binged watched it. And once I got into the show, I watched all 10 episodes. I watched one after another. And it was such a beautiful illustration of the power of stories. Those of you may remember Marsha Clark and her team, they had mountain of evidence against Mr. Simpson. Johnny Cochran and Bob Shapiro and F. Lee Bailey, they had stories. And they knew up front the winner of this case is going to be the side that told their story the best. The side that told their story the best is the winner. So much of sales, when you're in any kind of industry, whether you're in insurance or coaching or whatever, real estate, a lot of times people think that they're competing with someone else or competing with anyone else or any with how well they sell. You're not competing with them or the orders that you're competing with how well they sell. The one who has the best service doesn't necessarily earn more money than the ones who have average service. The story the best. Now, here's the other thing you need to know about the story, and I'm going to teach you how to tell your story today in the little bit of time I have left, because I'm not going to get you dressed up with nowhere to go. I'm going to fix your broken elevator pitch right now, and I'm going to teach you how to tell your story, and that takes about 30 seconds long to tell. To want to do business with you, but it also allows them to see you as a resource and as a benefit. And that way they can refer other people to you. When they see you as a resource, happily refer other people to you. Now, you and your story. You must get this mastered because the average American knows about 600 people. And if you don't tell your story well, they can't refer anyone to you. So let's go ahead and conquer that now. And then I'll tell you some more stuff. Very often, entrepreneurs don't like the question don't even like the question of what do you do for a living? Because they find themselves in that quandary of trying to, how do I answer that? Do I give them a cute answer? Well, I'm in this kind of business or that kind of business, or they give them a descriptive answer and they're trying to describe all the stuff they do or whatever. But either way, a lot of times it doesn't feel comfortable to the entrepreneur. Even when they've taken classes on how to tell their pitch, it just doesn't feel comfortable. And because they don't feel comfortable pitching, they don't do it and they get frustrated by it. I'm going to teach you how to become very comfortable telling your story. First, embrace the concept of stop pitching and telling your story. Here's a model. I'm going to get you a model on how to tell your story. To quote the great Morris Day, take out your pad and pen because it's going to get kind of right. That's what we're going to do. And it's a good idea for you to write down this framework of your story, a framework of your story that you can just fill in the blanks and you can win. Now, as a professional speaker and as a professional workshop facilitator, very often when I'm in front of a group, I'll ask for audience participation. I'll ask volunteers and I'll ask one person, what do you do for a living? And I'll listen to whatever they say. And then I'll ask that person, who do you believe would pay for your services? And then they'll tell me that answer too. And then I ask them the third question is, so, and what do you call the people that decide to hire you? And then I get that answer. And then the fourth and final question I ask them is, so what business would you say that you are in? Now, with those four questions answered, what do you do for a living? Who do you believe would pay for your services? What do you call the people that hire you? And what business would you say that you're in? With those questions right there is enough information to build your story. So what I would do is I would hear them answer those questions, and then I would tell them I would pretend I'm doing what they do, and I would tell their story using this formula that I'm about to teach you. Very often when they hear this formula that I'm about to teach you, they hear me regurgitate back what they do that sounds way better than what they said, their jaw hits the ground. They can't believe it. And they themselves are compelled to want to know more. And you will be too. So here's the formula. Here's what I want you to write down. First off, I want you to write down and understand this. If you earn your money through people, if you earn your money through clients, your real business is the capturing and keeping of a new client. Yes, it is. Your real business is securing the to get them, but your real business is securing business. Now, this is not what you tell people. I don't want you to tell people that my business is capturing and keeping new clients, but I want you to understand that. I want you to understand that your real business is securing the business. My talk today is designed talk is going to be better at selling themselves and their services better than they ever have before for the rest of their lives. And this will help them to earn more money. So understand that your real business is securing business. And once you get that in your spirit and understand that, I think it adds the right focus to your workday. But once you've written that down, I'd want you to write these words down. You know how. You know how, ... You know how, ellipses. Write that down on your page and then skip 3 or 4 lines. Skip 3 or 4 lines and then write these words. Well, what I do is ... Well, what I do is ... And then skip 3 or 4 more lines and write the words so that they can ... So that they can ... So let me give you a few examples. Let's say you're a finance coach, a wealth coach, okay? And you have insurance as well. That's what you do. Now, the first part of this story, the you know how, when someone asks you, what do you do for a living? I want you to say the words, you know how. And then what I want you to do is to introduce into the conversation a problem that your service solves first, and then get them to agree that it's a problem. So if you're a wealth coach or a financial coach and someone says, what do you do for a living? I would say something like, you know how there are so many people that are completely confused about how to grow their money or how to protect their money or how to make sure that they leave money for other people. And that whole thought process just kind of frustrates them. You know what I mean? See, I introduced an easy to understand problem and I said, you know what does that make any sense? You know what I mean? And I got them to agree it's a problem. Now, if you're in front of them, they might nod their head. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Or say, yep or yes. Any kind of agreement is enough. So you introduce, they said, what do you do for a living? I want you to introduce an easy to understand, easy to agree upon problem that's solved by your services and get them to agree. Because the moment they agree on the problem that you solve, that is a magical moment. That's the moment where they have metaphorically taken you by the hand. And now you can take them on a journey. Once you got them to agree on the problem you solve, then you transition them into the next stanza. Well, what I do is, now here you're introducing yourself as if you are the solution to the problem. You're the solution to the problem. You're the aspirin to the headache, and you are you are the answer to that question. You're the solution to the problem. You're the answer to that question, and you're the aspirin to their headache. Well, what I do is you're conveying that you solve that problem through your services. But what I do is I actually help these folks to be much smarter with their money, and I do it through my services as a wealth coach. And then you transition them at the end. Note in that second part, you're not telling them how you doing it. You just tell them that you do it. That's it. And then the last part, that so that they can, that is the most important part. The reason why you do all that you do. You do all that cool stuff so that they can what? So that they can be much more confident about their financial futures, so that they can grow their money, so that they can leave a legacy, so that they can pay for college or pay for the home or buy this or buy that, so that they can something. You must say a benefit to what you're doing, because if you don't say a benefit, it's even worse. If you don't say a benefit, it's as if you didn't have a benefit, which is even worse. That whole story should take about 30 to 35 seconds. Now, if this is your first time being introduced how to tell your story formally, here's what you need to know. It's going to take you 10 to 15 tries with 10 to 15 different people before you get this right. Because you're in a profession, it's going to pay a learning curve, but somewhere between the 10th and the 15th person, somewhere in there, someone's going to ask you what you do for a living. It's going to flow through you. It's going to be better than every other time before. And you're going to know you got it right when they say the word wow. When they say wow. When they say wow, you're going to remember that I told you they're going to say wow, and you got to resist the temptation to giggle. But somewhere between the first and the fifth time you tell that story, between the first and the fifth time, the first 5 times in you tell that story, that you know how, well, what I do is so that they can, you're going to notice just by using this formula, the quality of the response from the client has gone way up. By using this formula, you're going to notice that they start saying much better things to you. Things like, really? Or tell me more? Or how do you, or you know who you need to talk to? And oh man, I wish I had talked to you last year. You're going to get that response because now they see you as a resource and as a benefit. Tell your story and don't pitch. Tell your story. You're much more interesting. You're much more compelling. Now, I've been talking now for 16 minutes. Why should you have listened to me? Who is this dude? Brian K. Mcneil, the sales confidence coach. Well, not only have I helped hundreds of your friends and thousands of your friends have been positively impacted by my training, but many of you guys have read my books. Now, by my own count, I've read more than 700 books on how to sell. More than 700. I wrote a great list of the top 10 books on sales that I think everyone should read. And I've recently augmented that list, about 3 years ago, augmented that list to include these books. The first one I want to include is called The Shortcut. The Shortcut. You're not going to be able to see it here. The Shortcut. The shortcut in the subtitle is the fastest route to selling your services better than you ever had before so that you earn more money than ever before. This book is only 74 pages. That's it. This book is nuts and bolts of just what to do. And if you'll just do what it says do, you'll be much more profitable in about 4 weeks. A lot of cake, very little frosting. The Shortcut by Brian K. Mcneil. My name is still Brian K. Mcneil. Now that book just covers what to do to start making money, but it doesn't cover how to overcome objections or close sales. So to that end, I wrote the book, Asking for the Money. Asking for the Money, how anyone can close more sales, even you. Asking for the Money, how anyone, this book is longer than The Shortcut, but it just teaches you what to do before you ask for the money. What do you do when you ask for the money? What do you do when there's a little bit of resistance? What do you do when there's a lot of resistance? This book infuses the reader with super confidence when it comes to selling themselves and their services. And I'm also very proud to be the author of Why Rhinos Make Great Salespeople, featuring Mr. Randall the Rhino. This book is a not just for children's book, comparing qualities of a rhinoceros and the qualities of an entrepreneur. And it's just a really, really great story, great bedtime story. So today I came because I wanted you to start considering, stop pitching and tell your story, because you'll be much more interesting to your clients, much more interesting to your potential clients, and stories will stick. When he said to you, the men, come with me and I will make you fishers of men. They understood that. The parables, by parables shall ye teach. The last thing I want to say is this concept called the sin of the desert. Now, the sin of the desert is when you know where the water is, but you won't tell anyone else. You know where the solution is, but you're keeping it to yourself. If you offer something that really does help people, then you owe it to them to motivate them to take advantage of what you offer. If you don't do what you must to motivate them to take an action, then you're committing the sin of the desert. And the sin of the desert is the height of selfishness. Learn how to sell your good water. learn how to sell it. My name is Brian K. Mcneil. I am the Sales Confidence Coach, and I know that someone today got an answer to a question. God bless you.
Hey there, how are you? I would love it if you could become very present in this moment because it's a big moment for you and for me. And wherever you are as you're listening to this, I want you to relax into this conversation, just like we're just two old friends chatting and sharing. I am Daithia Garnes. I am the mother of two, not including my fur babies. I am the author of 7 books, the host of one award-winning podcast called the She's About Business Show, and I'm also known as the Impact Coach. Why? Because I have decided to be an unstoppable, unrelenting force for greatness in myself and in others. And I know that you may have never heard of me before, but trust me when I say that I have been committed to your greatness for a long time. And I am unstoppable and unrelenting because there have been so many challenges and obstacles that have tried so hard to stop my progression to my purpose. But I'm still here. And during this roller coaster of successes and failures, I found that if I could overcome most of the challenges and the opposition in 3 areas of my life, it would lead me to joy, peace, and purpose. And so, She's About Business was created as a lifestyle, as a formula, and as a way of life to help women create joy, peace, and purpose in 3 key areas of their lives. But my message to you today wasn't designed to work on or talk about those 3 areas, but more to prepare you for iconic living so that you'll be ready to apply that state of being in an iconic mindset into any formula for living that you choose and that you would choose to apply to your life. So if you are listening to this message today, one thing that I'm almost sure of is that all of your life, you've been different. You've been the one who stood out, the one who tried to break the status quo of your family, your friend circles, your community. And let's be honest, that does not always work out so well for us because I'm the same way. And if you're anything like me, being different has probably caused you a lot of ridicule from others, disbelief from in your abilities to do all of your crazy things that you dreamed and talked about. And all of this may have also caused you a whole lot of self-doubt. But during my moments of self-doubt, I really had to, and I still do, get clear on why I couldn't give up, on why I had to accept being different. And for me, it all started with a simple decision one day when I was 7 years old. Now, of course, as a child, I had no idea how difficult it would be to honor and live out this decision that I was making for the rest of my life. But with the wisdom that can only be manifested from the innocence that a child has, I still made that decision. On that day, I was just your average African-American country girl. You know, I was definitely not living a fairy tale by any means. I was living with family while my young mother had gone off to pursue what I assumed at the time were her own dreams. And to my 7-year-old mind, I envisioned that she was living an amazing adventure for herself. And I could fully understand why I didn't fit into that at the time, although I really, really wanted to be with her, you know? So she was an amazing provider. She provided very well for me financially. I always had the best of things. And she was present in my life via phone calls and visits. And she promised that one day she'd come back for me, which she did years later. But in that moment, I really wanted to be with her. And in this particular moment at 7, sitting on the front porch of the home that I shared with my caregivers and many, many cousins, I felt very, very alone. And this moment, it always reminds me that I have to keep pushing. So I always go back there. Now, on this particular day, I felt alone, even though there were a yard full of family and friends who had gathered to celebrate someone's birthday. I can't remember whose, but there were the usual things: food, music, adult drinks, lots of what most would consider fun. But on that day, I just wasn't really in the mood for fun. You see, earlier that morning, my aunt, who was raising me, had told me that my daddy was coming to see me. And she had asked me to get dressed in one of my nicest outfits, and my hair was done up really cute. And I was ready to, face the man that I had never in my whole 7 years gotten a visit from. Our interactions up until that point had been solely surrounding my mother, to be honest. When she would come for a visit, she would take me to try to find my dad. And spotting him would be as special to me, as like seeing a Loch Ness monster or Bigfoot. I mean, really, because I didn't see him that often. And most times we would not find him. But today, my aunt said that he was coming to see me. My mom wasn't even in town, so he was actually coming to see me. And my mom had called to encourage me and to get me excited over the phone. And I had worked really hard all day to not get my clothes dirty. So I've been really careful not to play too much or too rough with my cousins, because maybe if I made a good impression on him, he would visit me all the time. And I was so hopeful. And here I was, still sitting there and waiting. But as the day went on, I started to notice that, some people had already left the party, and most of the regular culprits who were known for having one too many were already turned up. And so I knew that before long, we children would be sent inside to bed so that the party could actually be elevated to the grown-up party, right? We all know how that works. So at this time, at this moment, as I sat there, I had to accept that my daddy wasn't coming. Today would not be a day of a special once-in-a-lifetime encounter with that elusive creature called the Father. At one point, I put my hands on my cheeks with my elbows down on my legs, and I just sat there in that position that usually symbolizes and tells you that a child is in deep thought. And I just watched as my family was having a great time at this party. I observed some of the little, intricacies that exist, like within families, the little things that a lot of people don't catch, right? The things that I would later understand were signals of like secrets and scandals amongst my family, amongst the group. And I didn't know all of that, back then. I didn't know all about the messiness and all of that stuff. But what I did know is that something wasn't right. Something didn't feel right. And I knew that after being stood up by my father, I wasn't okay. But it didn't seem like anybody else even noticed or cared. Everyone at the party, my father, wherever he was, they all simply went on with their chaos, right? Went on with their dysfunction. But something changed for me on that day because of that one decision made in all of my childlike wisdom and innocence. And now, one of the biggest lessons that I use when coaching and mentoring the young women that I work with is that real women make decisions, and the quality of decisions make real women. And of course, the same is true for men. I'm not going to leave you fellas out. I didn't know or care about that at the time, but still in that moment, I made a very grown-up decision. That was my moment when I knew that I would be different than all that I saw around me. And even now, like to this day, it's making me tear up because I knew that there had to be a better way of living. I knew that this could not be all that there was. And I decided to be different than the dysfunction and the chaos and the poverty and the sadness. And I instinctively knew that I would be willing to die trying to do so. I knew it. And trust me when I tell you that many times it has felt like I was dying. All the times that I felt misunderstood, all the times that I was rejected, abandoned, disliked, judged, all for being different than the drama, dysfunction, and chaos around me. And maybe you felt that way too. Maybe it's just always been something different about you and your beliefs and the things that you wanted to achieve. And I've even been told that I was too positive, too motivational. I've had people tell me that they abandoned me or left my life simply because they didn't want to be around my light at the time because they were in a place in their lives when it irritated them. True story. And it irritated and it shook up the things that they were involved in. They didn't care if it hurt me. They just knew they didn't need my motivation and my uplifting attitude. So trust me, I know how hard it can be to be different. But I want to ask you today to go back to your moment, to that time, that place, or that incident when you made up your mind. You made a decision to be different. And I want you to ask yourself, is it still worth it? And when you get your yes, which I believe all of you watching this will get, I then want you to hold yourself accountable for the greatness that's still locked within you. You have always been different. Now it's time to be iconic. Yeah, listen, last year, December, I was working on what concept I would be focusing on for the next season of my podcast, the She's About Business show. You know, I had prayed about it. I journaled about it. I explored, how life had been for me and for others since COVID. And I knew that this season would require me to go all in. I knew that my messages, my mindset had to be epic. I decided that they had to be iconic. So I decided that season 4 of the She's About Business show would be called Living Iconically and with Purpose. And I scheduled what I called my most iconic photo shoot. I purchased my iconic outfit that I would wear for my shoot. And I went on to have an amazing, iconic shoot on December 28th. I had never heard of BlackCEO's Black and Iconic Conference, didn't know anything about it until one day I was online, just studying being iconic in the word and trying to come up with topics for my season. That was on December 31st, and I found this conference, and here I am. Talk about the power of decisions. A good decision can align you with purpose. Remember, real men And women make decisions, and the quality of those decisions make real men and women. So last year in December, I decided to no longer worry about what people would say or think. I mean, if they don't like it when I am encouraging and motivational, what in God's name will they say about me saying that I'm iconic, right? That thought actually crossed my mind, but I truly believe that had I not decided to go with the iconic theme, I wouldn't be here in front of you today, because it was actually in alignment with my purpose for me to do so all along. And I'm so thankful that I didn't let worry about what other people would think stop me from that. So now, here we are, and we've all made a decision to be iconic. And you may be thinking, okay, I've been working hard for years. I started the business, I wrote the book, I started the podcast, but now what? Well, now it goes back to your decisions, right? And I want to give you 5 questions that you need to ask yourself so that based on your answers, you can make decisions that will help you get in tune with and be aligned with your iconic purpose. Because again, I'm assuming that since you're here, you've already made this decision. So now it's just time to step into it. So my first question to you is, what value are you bringing to others? I mean, this one doesn't really need much explanation, right? Outside of your family, children, closest people in your life, what value are you bringing to others? Or are you stuck in a place where you just can't seem to get over your own needs, wants, and desires? Think about that. Okay? And I want you to make a decision. I want you to decide to be of even more value to others in your very own special way. Okay, next question. If you died today, what gifts meant for the world would go with you to your grave? During a really tough time for me, when I was really questioning if I could do it, right? If I could keep pushing, I read the quote by Oliver Wendell Holmes that said, "Many people die with their music still in them." And it made me think of those people like my father, who they say was actually very creative and talented at art and funny. And I thought about all the art and creations that possibly died when he died because he made a decision to put a bottle before living out his purpose. And so I made another decision, this time led by the grace and guidance of God, because I'm a grown woman now, I'm not 7. And that decision was that I would make every attempt to get this music, this work, these books, these words, and everything that is meant for others out of me, because they were never meant to go to my grave. They were meant for the world. What's locked inside of you that we all need? Third question. Who are you becoming? Listen, I'm gonna be real honest with you right now. Sometimes I get so frustrated with people and their behaviors and how they affect me and how they affect those that I love and others and even themselves, that I really want so bad to be less holy and so much more hood. And there's even this t-shirt that says something to that effect, and I was so close to getting it and wearing it proudly, right? But I had to ask myself, who is it that you're becoming? And would you like her if you met her on the street? I know you often feel like spazzing out, going off, giving up, telling people how you really feel. And sometimes, we may have to go there because, hey, we're not perfect. And if that is a part of who you are and you feel that it's also an important part of who you are becoming, it's okay. But let's not forget that whatever we do and whoever we're becoming, it has to line up with becoming something great and iconic. And we must hold ourselves accountable to that, and our behaviors and our actions and our words have to line up, right? Because it all has to line up with our ability to carry out our purpose and to, be the person that we say we are. And the answer is going to be different for each of us. Just make sure you are clear about who you are becoming. So this leads me to my next question. What are you a symbol of, and are you pretending? Okay, so an icon is just a symbol of something, right? So the Statue of Liberty is an icon. It's a symbol for freedom. But if we were to crack the Statue of Liberty open, we would not find freedom inside, right? It's just hollowness and probably a lot of dust and spiders and webs, right? Living creatures, though, are special in the fact that we actually have the ability to embody what we symbolize, not in a tangible way, but in our characteristics. So a bull, for instance, is a symbol of fierceness, and an elephant for intelligence, right? These creatures, they actually embody these characteristics. They are not faking it, right? If you mess with the bull, you will get the horns, right? They are not faking, they are not hollow. They actually have inside of them what they portray, what they symbolize. Do you? A former mentor gave me the name Impact Coach. I didn't want to use it. At the time, I was like, I just didn't see, even though I was coaching people around the world and I was really committed to the people I was working with, I just didn't see how truly committed that I had been and I was to helping others be great. But she saw it because I was actually doing things that were impactful. So she said, this is who you are, right? So whatever you say that you stand for, whatever you want to be iconic at, make sure you make it a way of life so that other people can see it, and you will be a true symbol and beacon to them in that area. Don't be hollow, right? All right, my last question, question 5 is, what environments are you forcing yourself to be a part of? Listen, let me tell you a secret, okay? You are just not going to be it for everyone or every place. Stop trying to force it. Man, listen, if I would have actually listened to my inner voice, which I accept as God's spirit, if I would have listened every time it said to me, daughter, Daivia, it's time to leave this job. It's time to leave this relationship, for God's sake. It's time to leave this inner circle, this position within your family, whatever. I would have saved myself a lifetime of hurts, tears, setbacks, and devastating heartbreaks. Sometimes we try to force ourselves on people and situations because we are seeking validation, acceptance, right? Especially someone coming from the background that I had, right? Where I didn't get that from my father. Or, we tell ourselves it's the right thing to do. Even though if we look to the big book of how to make decisions, which is how I see the Bible, we are actually under no scriptural obligation to stay in relationships that break us and destroy us, or situations. Why do we force it? And regardless of what your spiritual beliefs or background is, you have to know that making covenants with the wrong folks, aligning yourself with the wrong fight, or placing yourself in the wrong environment will not work out well for you. So I end with saying, you have always been different. Now it's time to be iconic. The world needs you. I need you. The little girls and boys in other countries who may be inspired by your book here in America, we need you. We need your show, your story, right? It's time to decide. Remember, our decisions are usually not based on the facts that we know, but on what we believe, regardless of the facts. So, what do you believe about you? You're here listening to this message, but now what? If this message has resonated with you, I thank God for that. If there is something else that I can offer you, I'll be more than happy to. That's why I'm here. I would love to make a bigger impact on your life. Please listen in to the She's About Business show. It's available wherever you listen to podcasts and even on YouTube. And of course, you can always visit she'saboutbusiness.com to get the She's About Business book series and to connect with me for some coaching or mentoring or whatever I can do to impact your life. But the most important action that you can take from today is to make a decision to be iconic and get out there and do it. I really love you guys.
Hi, everybody. My name is Joanna, and I'm with Internet Radio Organization. I am the owner and founder of IRO, and we work with businesses to help them create podcasts. Today, I'm here to tell you guys a love story, and not just any typical boring cliche love story, but a real love story. And it doesn't have to do with a girl meeting a boy and getting her heart broken. It has to do with a girl, a car, and a lot of music. So back in 2002, I graduated college, was trying to figure out what I was doing with my life. But every Friday, I'd get in my car and just drive around listening to music that I had found from bands in the local area. And the best part about growing up in LA is I can have friends who love music as much as I did. And they had bands and I had bands, and none of those bands intersected. So I had a wealth of information at my fingertips and a ton of music. But the thing I couldn't understand was, here were all these great bands, but nobody was playing them on the radio. You'd get the locals only show on Sunday, but the rest of the week you weren't hearing these bands, and they were really good. So I decided that that wasn't really fair, and I was gonna do something about it. So I created a podcast called Screw Pop Culture. And Screw Pop Culture was a music podcast that was supposed to highlight LA music bands. And it was going to be amazing in my head. So what I did was what anybody would do. I emailed a bunch of bands. And this is when MySpace was a thing. So I was sending them messages and I was honest with them and said, hey, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm going to start this podcast and I'm going to play bands. And I'd like to play your music. And the bands obliged and sent me a ton of music. Now, I'd love to tell you that that first episode was amazing and I knocked it out the park. But in all honesty, it took me 2 hours to record a 30-minute podcast that had 6 songs in it. And it was terrible. But it started something. It started a chain reaction. And a year later, we went from having a 30-minute show to a full 24/7 streaming online radio station, Radio KSCR, to putting on music video festivals where we were renting out at movie theaters to show music videos from bands, and award shows and music video scavenger hunts and anything that I could come up with. But the start was setting up that podcast because I loved music. And I'm here to tell you that if you've got something that you're excited about, that you want to do, now's the time to do it. There is nothing stopping you. And I'm going to talk about 5 tips to help get you started. So I'm not going to just push you out there and say, you can do it. Good luck. No, we're going to go and walk through some of the steps that I took, how I made adjustments, and where we're at today. So step one, we're going to talk about reverse engineering your project. For me, when I did the podcast, I knew I wanted to do a podcast. I didn't know anything about podcasting. And at that time, no one had podcasts. So I really couldn't figure out how to do a podcast. But Apple Podcast was incredibly helpful. And there were a few people out there doing podcasts that you could find information. So you just information dug. When I did the music video festival, I knew I wanted to watch a music video in the movie theater, but I didn't know how to do it. So I started with the end product. I wanted an award show. I wanted to watch music videos in a theater, and I worked my way backwards. When I did my award show, I knew that I wanted to walk on a stage, hand out trophies to an artist for something. So I started with the stage and said, okay, I need to find a venue. So I found the venue. And then I said, okay, I need to get trophies. Then I need to find an artist to give an award to for something. So once I started at the end and worked it backwards, it wasn't as daunting as starting with something as big as I want to have an award show. Telling yourself that you want to do something sometimes is so overwhelming that it is incredibly hard to get started. But if you can envision the end of it, then we're going somewhere, because now you can reverse engineer to figure out how you started from the end to get to the beginning. So I want to just take 1 second for you guys to all take a moment and think about where you want to be. Think about that book that you want to write. Think about that business that you want to start. Think about that project that you've always thought of doing and never got done. I want you to close your eyes and reverse engineer it. Think about the end product and figure out how you're going to get there in baby steps. Don't think about writing the full book. Think about the last page. Think about the cover and go that route. So I just want you to take like 20 seconds to do that, okay? Take a moment, think about the end, and start reverse engineering. Now, the next thing I want to do is let's talk about research. We are in an information age, and it is glorious. There is nothing better than the fact that we have everything at our fingertips. If you want to learn how to make candy and be a candy store owner, there are videos about that. You can go on YouTube, you can go on Craftsy. There's all kinds of stuff to teach you how to make candy. You want to write a book? There are so many coaches out there to teach you how to write a book. You want to do a podcast? Flip the mic on. There are people out there who are going to give you a template and say, here is the structure to podcasting. This is how it's done. You want to be a rock star and you can't figure out how to play a guitar? There are classes for that. We're at an age now where we don't need to reinvent the wheel. Find somebody who did something similar to what you did and ask them questions. Read their book. Don't reinvent the wheel. They tore their hair out figuring out what to do. Take their information, tailor it to you, and make it work for you. You've got this. This is amazing. Do the research. But in the process of doing the research, don't get what everybody calls analysis paralysis, where you spent so much time researching that you're stuck. Do the research. When you start to feel overwhelmed, stop researching, start moving forward. Don't get stuck in the research stage. It's an important stage, but it's not the end stage. So make it happen. You've got that. The next step is, in my opinion, the most fun step. And that step 3 is, I call it plan for the apocalypse. And I am not talking a minor inconvenience. Plan for the apocalypse. We are talking Sharknado, volcano in the middle of like LA, every disaster movie you've ever seen, plan for that. Let's be honest, COVID threw us all a curveball. it threw us all a curveball. Even if you saw it coming and were following the news and knew something was happening in China back in December, you still didn't know the effect it was really going to have on you until it had it. So you need to plan for that. You plan for the worst case scenario, but you also need to plan for the best case scenario. There's so many people that I've talked to who don't know how to handle success. They get to a point where they've planned for the worst and it turned out better than they could have ever expected. And now they're sitting there wondering what to do next because they didn't plan for that. They planned for things to go wrong. So you need to make the plan for when things go wrong, but you also need to plan for when things go right. And like I said, this is the most fun because this is where you get to sit back, spend Saturday watching these bad movies on Sci-Fi Channel where there's a Sharknado and ask yourself, okay, if I was in LA during Sharknado 1, how would my business have survived this? During the big earthquake, how would my business survive this? During COVID, how is my business surviving this? Now, step 3 leads right into step 4, which is make adjustments. COVID threw a loop on everybody. And COVID did a number on a lot of businesses that people expected to be around forever. And the reason for that is because people don't know how to adjust. And then as an entrepreneur, as a life coach, as an author, as anything, you are in a unique position to be able to take a step back and look around and make adjustments. Because when all is said and done, what's the worst thing that's going to happen? Oh my God, you fail. What? You're not doing it anyway. So even if you do it and you fail, you just get to start back at square one. But you're not starting at square one where you don't know what you're doing. You're starting at square one where now you've got 6 months of information about what did not go your way. You've got 6 months of information of, hey, so this worked, but this didn't, but this worked and this didn't, and I need to figure out how to adjust. Think about health clubs and health clubs versus personal trainers during COVID. What happened? Health clubs are not doing good. 24-hour fitness filed for bankruptcy. 24-hour fitness wasn't doing good before COVID, but when COVID happened, 24-hour fitness couldn't even function. They couldn't handle. They shut down. It was supposed to be for 2 weeks. They never opened back up. They couldn't adjust. But the personal trainer down the street who was already struggling and was working with people in 24-hour fitness, helping them meet their personal fitness goals, all of a sudden had an opportunity because he didn't have to go to the gym. He told them, hey, look, we can't meet in person, but we can meet over Zoom. So I'm going to do our personal training over Zoom. And then when we could go outside, hey, I'm going to meet you at the park and we're going to do our training at the park. I'm going to make meal prep for you over there. Yes, you can't get flour or yeast because that turned into a thing that everybody wanted to make during this COVID. But it was like, okay, well, we can't make bread. Let's learn how to make something else. How many people started baking during COVID? How many people started bakeries in their homes during COVID? You make adjustments. You zig where you should have zagged. You figure it out and then you adjust. And that is the point. That's the part where companies are in such a unique position. Entrepreneurs are in a unique position. We don't start at the top. We start at the bottom. Most of us claw and scratch our way up. So for us to make adjustments and to turn direction a little bit, we've done it already. You're an author. You have a book. You've got a template for a book. And all of a sudden you realize that everything that you had researched doesn't exactly add up anymore. Well, that's okay. Take that book that you have, make the adjustments. Acknowledge halfway through the book, hey, this is where we were at, and now this is where we're going, and the rest of the book is focused on that adjustment. You've got this. There is nothing that we can't do out there. We're amazing people. We're amazing people, and we prove it every day. How many kids are paying for their parents' mortgages by opening up boxes of toys and playing with them? Who would have ever thought that that would have been a business? Who would have ever thought that would have been a business that an 8-year-old had mastered? That's almost heartbreaking, isn't it? When you think about it, there's an 8-year-old making millions of dollars doing nothing but being an 8-year-old, playing with toys on YouTube. And he gets toys and money? We're at a point now where you can make anything a business. If you love to do something, figure out how to make money at it. It's there. You're talented. If you can crochet, do you know how much people are paying for scarves made with really nice fabric? A lot of money. Just go on Etsy. People paint rocks. They put them on Etsy. People buy them. Make the adjustments. You've got this. Now that I've given you these steps, let's talk about the biggest step of all. And this is step 5. Step 5 is set a date and stick to it. Decide that you want to do something. When I started my podcast, I decided that I was going to do my first episode July 3rd. I don't even know why. July 3rd just seemed like a good day. And I said, okay, that's the first day of the episode. Episode 1's going to be July 3rd. So July 2nd, July 1st, June 30th, I was researching, trying to make that first show. But July 3rd, that episode happened. You put that episode on the calendar, you circle it in red, and you tell yourself, this is it. This is my time. This is when I'm going to make this happen. This is the day that I start the book, or this is the day that I end the book. This is the day that I announce that I'm going to start my business. This is the day for the event. You make it happen. The best part about having a date on the calendar is that it sets a deadline for you. Now you look at that calendar, and every time you look at July 3rd, you think to yourself, I've got something to do that day. I need to get ready for that. You think to yourself, I've got a date. I've got to figure out how to make this happen by that date. And that's going to do one of two things. For you procrastinators out there, that is going to be the fire that gets you going. The closer that day comes, you are going to have a sense of dread, or your heart is going to race every time you see that date pop up. And that is going to be exciting. And you are eventually going to get moving on it, because that date will come and go. And you are going to look at yourself and feel some kind of way if you put that date on the calendar and you haven't done anything. Put a date, stick to it. You've got this. This is your business. This is your passion. This is your hobby. This is what you are here to do. There's no reason why you can't do it. Don't let anybody tell you you can't. We live in an age where everything is possible. Absolutely everything is possible. That's kind of what makes it amazing. So get out there and write your book. Start your podcast. Go on YouTube, create a channel. And it's okay if you don't know what you're doing. No one does. That's kind of the fun part about all of this. We're all just making it up as we go along anyway. So why do you need to stick to your rules? Why do you need to stick to their rules? You could be an adult opening gifts in front of YouTube videos and playing with toys. There's a whole section of YouTube that gets a little dark that has it. Guys playing with My Little Ponies. It's a little weird, but they've made a living out of it. That's their hobby. That's what they want to do. You like playing Uno? Start an Uno game and play it online. Write that book. Your future is in your hands. Or better yet, your present is in your hands. No one is stopping you from doing anything. And the kids, the husband, the career that you already have that you kind of hate, all that's an excuse. If you really want to do it, you're going to find the time. You're going to make the time. And what you're going to find is that you're going to have way more people behind you than you expect. Nothing better than the silent heroes who are actually pushing for you to move forward, who, when you get that first podcast out, they're like, dude, this is bad, but I'm okay with it. Like, I'm 100% behind her. I like what she's doing here. I like that she's trying. I'm subscribing to this because I'm going to support that. She told a good story. I love her book. I need to follow this artist. I need to follow this author. I'm going to follow and get the next book she makes. You know, that coach, she said a lot of stuff on YouTube, and I'm 100% behind what she says. I am subscribing. And eventually, she's going to create a course, and I'm going to take it. There are a million people out there who are willing and ready to support you. So get out there and support yourself. Let people get excited about what you're doing. Get started for everyone's sake. Because let's be honest, I want to hear your podcast. I want to read your book. I want to get excited when you get on YouTube and talk about how you've lost weight or how you had an eating disorder and gained weight. I want to hear about how you created the next D&D or how your band all of a sudden decided they're making music for movies instead of trying to get signed to a label. Let us get excited for you and figure out a way for you to get excited for yourself. Put that date in the calendar. Stick to it. Let's make it happen, guys. Thank you so much for listening to my speech. I hope you guys are pumped. I hope you guys are ready to go. My name's Joanna. I'm, again, the owner and founder of Internet Radio Organization. I would love to have you guys reach out to me. Please find me online at internetradioorganization.com or email me at info@internetradio.organization. I'd love to help you start your podcast, your videos, whatever you need done. Again, thanks so much for listening.
We are back on the scene, crispy and clean. Rob on the job with the CEO team. What's happening, family? My name is Robert Antoinin, and I'm your host for BlackCEO's premier event for 2021, Black and Iconic. This is day 4, our speaker and authors showcase, and I trust that as you listen to all of the presenters, you're taking notes to help you with strategies to elevate your brand, and you are gaining value in listening to the stories for your benefit. So as we move along, guys, I want to make sure that you tell a friend about this broadcast that's happening. It's a 7-day event. We're on day 4, so make sure that you're connecting with folks. And the way that they can do that is by going over to joinblackceo.com. Again, that's joinblackceo.com to allow people to connect with this body of entrepreneurs. Black CEO is the largest collection of Black CEOs in the world. So if they go over to Join Black CEO, they can be connected. In addition, if they want to go and watch this broadcast, send them over to blackceolive.com, blackceolive.com, so that they can watch this broadcast just like you. In addition to that, for those of you who want to rep Black CEO, make sure that you go to get your t-shirts from blackceotshirts.com. And then lastly, for the speakers that you are listening to, if they're saying something that resonates with you, your business, and your brand, go to bizfreegifts.com so that you can continue to connect with them and get a free gift as a benefit for going over to bizfreegifts.com. And then the last thing, I know I said the last thing the last time, but make sure that you are signed up. Get your virtual seat for the masterclass that's happening this weekend. You can get that at blackceovip.com. That's blackceovip.com. I truly want you to take advantage of the masterclass. We have some of the best folks in the industry, like Andy Enriquez. So you want to be connected to that masterclass. Listen to what master facilitators have to share with you so that you can help to continue elevate your brand and your business. So please go over to Black CEO VIP. The last time we talked, family, I had a word and a message for speakers, and I'd just like to share something for the authors now. I talked to my super friend Sheree Robbins, who is a Schuster's best-selling author. In fact, she helps entrepreneurs to get the words in their head to be on a page and then later into a book that the world can consume and read. She told me that I know you want to write your book, but you have to understand that the book is not about you. The reader of your book has to be the hero in the story. And I didn't understand that when she first said that, but she said that you have to provide a transformation for the reader. In other words, it's not enough just to talk about your pain point. For the benefit of your reader, you need to talk about the transformation that happened as a result of your pain point. How you got over, how you elevated and you arrived on the other side. So make sure that you understand as the author, your reader has to be the hero in your story. And it's not enough just to talk about your pain point. Again, you have to be very, very clear about the transformation that happened as a result of your pain point. And when you do that, you are well on your way to having your best-selling book published and consumed by the whole wide world. My name is Robert Antoinin, and I approve this message. Peace.
Can you keep a secret? I know that I take pride in being trusted with secrets, but today I come before you so excited to share the secret of leadership growth. But before I do that, what I don't want to keep a secret is who I am. My name is Moni Toussaint, and I am the president of Monumental Business Solutions. I take pride in being a monumental moment maximizer. What does that mean? I utilize tips, tools, and techniques to motivate leaders to maximize pivotal moments in their journey and achieve success. A certified career coach by trade, I connect ideas to actions and provide an environment for clients to live. And what do I mean when I say live? I want them to leverage their current skills, identify opportunities to grow, create value in their relationships, and evaluate progress to continually evolve as they move through life. All of my clients walk away with reminders to think monumental. If you have an idea, we have a plan. But your idea today is to figure out how do you grow as a leader. And I am delighted to tell you how to do that. First of all, before we get started, I love doing vision and activities. So what I want for you to do right now is to trust me and to close your eyes. Let's take a deep breath. Are you closing your eyes? I can't see you, but I'm trusting that you are. So close your eyes. So if your eyes are closed, then you can't see that mine are open. So I'll close my eyes with you. What we want to do right now is to picture yourself in 5 years. Your alarm is going off. What are you doing when you wake up? Are you on the beach, the mountains, in the desert? Are you working for yourself? Are you working from home? Are you working at home? What does your future look like? What are you doing? Where do you want to be as a leader? And how do you want to get there? Light work, right? Open your eyes for me, please. Today, my end goal is to help you figure out how you get from where you are today to where you just saw yourself in the future. And the way I want to do that is I want you to think about leadership as a garden of well-developed ideas. It's not enough to just have a great idea. You have to implement it for it to be more than just a figment of your imagination. Now, this would be the part, if you've seen me before, where I kind of like do a temptation gig and say it's just my imagination. But it's a lot of people, and I think my mom's watching today, so I probably won't sing that for you. But I want you to keep that in your mind. Leadership is a garden of well-developed ideas, not just any idea, the ideas that work for you, the ideas that you take the time to develop a strategy for. That's what you want to work on. And how we're going to do that today is to think about how to grow. One of the examples that I thought would be the most visual and most appealing to you is to think about a plant. We all can relate in some form or fashion, even if it's just back in school when you had to water the seed and watch it grow, or you've seen it on TV. I know that we all can think about a plant and what it needs to survive. So if you've heard me speak before, you know that I am the queen of acronyms. And so what I've done today is created an acronym for the word plant. All right, so let's think about this. P is to prepare, L is to leverage, A is to assess, N is to nourish, and T is to trim. Again, you have my accent come in here and there. Just want to shout out all my West Indians. I am from the Virgin Islands. But when you think about trimming, all of the things that I talked about happen to a plant at some part of their life. And so what we're going to do is take a little time to walk through these 5 parts that you should continue to do to grow as a leader. Okay. So when I say prepare, what does that mean? You, in theory, know what the word prepare means. I don't want to make any assumptions, but what I want to tell you as it relates to your leadership growth is when you prepare, you have to identify the areas of necessary growth. Where do you want to grow? Where do you want to be planted? What kind of soil do you need? You need to research the potential solutions to the problem you want to solve, or the problems that you anticipate having to get from here to there. You want to commit to making the investment to grow. A plant does not get up and walk away. A plant is rooted in the ground and it puts time and effort into growing what it wants to do. So before you make that level of commitment to the growth you've envisioned for yourself, you want to make sure you're doing it for the right reasons, in the right places, with the right people. After you've prepared yourself to grow as a leader, you want to leverage. And when I say leverage, I want you to think of light. Find your sources of inspiration. Leadership is hard work. I would be lying if I said to you, this is the easiest thing I've ever done. Becoming a leader, becoming a force to be reckoned with, and working my way to billionaire status, working on it, putting it in the atmosphere, manifesting it, right? By finding your sources of inspiration, finding your why, and remembering why you want to do it. It's not so much you want to do it to be successful. Why do you want to do it? What is going to motivate you in those moments of, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm done. Y'all can have it. Walk away. It's not for me. I am done. If you don't know why you're doing something, it is harder to stay motivated. And then once you found your light, because think about plants. You don't want to plant a cactus in the rainforest. A cactus does not require rain every day to grow. The same way you wouldn't take a lily and plant it in a desert, right? So figure out where you can plant yourself, where you have the support to grow. You want to leverage the resources in your circle. You want to leverage the resources in your family. You want to leverage the resources that you have access to, but you have to plant yourself where you have the support to grow. So don't set yourself up. Prepare, make sure it's what you want to do and you're doing it for the right reasons. When you leverage, find your sources of light, figure out how much light you need, and plant yourself where you have the support to grow. Easy, right? In theory, everything is easy until you try it. And then once you've put in the work to do that, I always, always, always encourage you to assess where you are. And I say this with all sincerity and from a nice place. You're not always where you need to be in the time you need to be there, in the period you need to be there. And so it's very critical for your leadership journey for you to figure out is where you are working for you. When you close your eyes at the beginning of this session, you saw yourself. Is where you are working right now working for you? Is the ground fertilized? Do you have the right nutrients in the ground that you are working on growing in right now to be where you want to be in 5 years? You have to be honest with yourself. You have to take some time and figure out, you know what? This is not working for me. Or you know what? This is perfect. I can grow where I'm planted. I am receiving the nutrients, the sunlight, the water, all of the things that I need. And Once you figure that out, you stay or you go. Leadership requires tough decisions. And sometimes you have to make the best decision for you and what motivates you. Remember your why. If there's something you truly want to do and you think you're great at it, you know you're great at it, you can't sleep at night because you're thinking of ways to do it better, make sure where you are is where you need to be. And then to support that, you want to nourish it. So we said prepare, figure it out, leverage, find your light, find your why, find your people, assess, make sure it's working for you. If it's working, great. If it's not, let's come up with a strategy. And then you want to nourish it. If you've decided that where you are is where you want to be, you are growing where you are, you want to determine how you want to grow, right? Remember, we talked about ideas without implementation equals just your imagination. And I love visioning, but I love implementation better. And so think about popcorn pop, pop, pop. You want to prioritize, you want to organize, and then you want to plan. So now that I feel like I'm growing where I am, what is the most important thing for me? We can have a bucket list of things to do, but you want to pick maybe your top two or three to focus on first. Before you do that, you have to organize. Like, I am known for having lots of ideas, and I keep people in my circle that are very much like, okay, big picture girl, come back here. Let's get some details. Let's get this done. And so for you, you want to organize yourself. You want to select the two or three priorities for the year or the quarter that you want to work on. And then you want to make a plan. Think about where you want to be in 5 years and backtrack it. So if I want to be here in 5 years, what are the things that I need to do? Who do I need to be in contact with? What resources do I need to allocate? What resources do I already have access to? Part of being a leader is figuring out the how. Your boss, or if you're a boss for yourself and you say, this is what we want to accomplish right now, you tend to look to your leader for the how. Right? Now, your leader might delegate it to you, or as a leader, you might delegate it to the people that can do it best. But you, at the end of the day, are overall for how something gets implemented. So it's super critical that you figure out what your plan is going to be. And then you want to make sure you nourish it. Now, we're business leaders, or we're just leaders in general, and we all know about SMART goals, right? So part of nourishing this dream and vision and growth as a leader is being smart about it. When I say prioritize and organize, I don't want you to do that without being smart, without thinking about, okay, let me be specific. In 5 years, I will own a 2-bedroom condo in St. Thomas on the beach. And my parents will be nice enough to manage it for me, whatever it is, and make sure that's measurable. Is it something I can measure? Is it attainable? Do I have the resource to do it? Is it relevant for where I am in my life right now? What do I need? And time-based. We're working with it right now. I'm just proposing. We want to be here in 5 years. This is what we want to do. So to get from there to here are some steps. Let's think about what that looks like. And you have to nourish your growth. You can't just say, I want to lose 100 pounds by December, but have no plan, have no meal plan, have no workout plan, have no anything. You have to nourish anything you've decided that you want to do. So the same thing with your leadership growth. If you want to be a coach, what credentials do you need? If you want to be a president, what certifications do you need to process? What circles do you need to be present in? What network do you need to join? You cannot thrive as a leader without being intentional about nourishing what you want. A plant will not grow without light, water, and nutrients. What are the nutrients you need? What do you need? What do you want? Think about what you want and go get it. Stop. So you just cannot. I want to just sit here a while because you can't. I think we put a lot of time and effort into preparing, getting the right outfits, getting the right credentials, and we just don't do the work. Like, leadership takes work. It requires action, and deciding not to act is an action. Okay? Inaction is a decision. So make a decision, invest, prepare yourself, leverage, assess, Nourish, and this is the hard part, right? Trim. Keep your goals manageable. Like I said in the last well, you can't see slides, but what I said is keep your goals manageable. And then when you think about a tree as it's growing, sometimes you have to cut out the pieces to get it where you need to be. It's stuck in a fence or wherever, it's growing too big. You want to keep it manageable. Lose the connections that are not helping you grow. And this is tough. Like, this is tough work. I love people. I love giving them the benefit of the doubt, trimming away anyone. It's so hard for me, but you have to be intentional about the people who have access to you and the people that nourish the ground that you're in, right? So we assessed it. We're like, you know what? This is not it. Or you decrease the level of access you have and then move as you grow. When you think about some plants, they start in a pot. And once they've outgrown that pot, they are moved and into a larger pot, or they're moved into different soil. You have to be prepared to make the decision to move, to grow, and to help and to allow others to help you. Again, I'm gonna go back to I am superwoman, I need no one. But the reality is none of us are an island. As beautiful and serene as islands are, none of us, no man is an island. We have to allow others to help us grow. So just trim it. Trim away those connections, keep your goals manageable, move as you grow, and allow others to help you, because as much as you think you can, you really can't do it alone. Everybody at some point needs someone to help them get up, to help them. You can't plant yourself. Someone has to toil the ground and put you in there. Find the right mentors, find the right resources, find someone you can trust with your vision. I know we have, some of us, trust issues. You cannot do it alone. All right. And so, one of the most important things to remember is leadership is an ongoing process. As your goals develop, you're going to rotate into the different stages we talked about. New goal, you plant another seed. Your leadership journey is a garden of well developed ideas. You can have more than one happening, but you have to develop them all. And as you think about how you want to grow, again, I want to encourage you to prepare yourself to grow, to leverage, find your light, find your why, find your people. Assess it. Is it working for you? If it's not, you you no, a cactus cannot grow in the in the rainforest. There might be exceptions, but find where you need to be. And if you're a cactus and you're already in the desert and you're a CEO and a leader and it's working for you, that is wonderful. Nourish it. And a huge part of nourishing that is succession planning. A lot of us don't think about that, right? Nourish your goal and your vision. When you get there in 5 years, what do you want to see behind you? So 5 years after that, 5 years and 10 years, somebody else can be where you are. Don't forget to nourish. And then don't forget to trim. Trim the fat, trim the people, trim the goals, make it manageable and accomplish it. I'm a firm believer that if you do that, you are, and I don't want to make a guarantee, right? But strongly, there's a strong possibility that if you continuously do this as you come up with ideas and things you want to accomplish as a leader, you will definitely grow. Well, that's my secret. If you want to grow as a leader, be a plant. Prepare yourself, leverage your resources, assess the situation, nourish your growth process, and then trim it. What I do want to offer you then is a free gift. On my website, monumentalbusiness.com, I will have a leadership growth checklist there for you. And you can use this checklist to make sure that you continue to grow as a leader, that you continue to give back and bring other people with you, right? So don't just grow. Nothing's more random than a one random tall tree by itself with nothing around it. It's so beautiful to be in a garden, to be around others, make sure that you help other people grow, and to always give back. Ladies and gentlemen, I just want to thank you for your time and encourage you to stay connected with me with the hashtag Think Monumental. I am on Facebook, Think Monumental, Instagram, Think Monumental, monumentalbusiness.com, and YouTube as Monumental Moments. Again, my name is Monique Toussaint. It was my pleasure to share my secret with you. I am so elated that you took some time and stuck in there and worked through this science module with me. I am excited to see you in 5 years, and I want to hear from you. And you can say, you know what, Miss Monique, I saw you. Miss Monique, I work with students. You know what, Monique, I saw you, and this was my vision. This is my goal. And if you need help, please feel free to reach out. I am passionate about it. I encourage you to grow as a person, to grow as a leader, and to stay connected. And don't forget to think monumental. Thanks, and have a great day.
Hello there, everybody. Thank you all so much for tuning in to this presentation. This is a presentation that will, I believe, help you with your strategies, your principles, your tools, and your nuggets that you can carry with you in your leadership journey. Wherever you may be at the front line, mid-level, or even the senior level, it's always important to be a continuous learner. Leaders are learners. So I bring you greetings. My name is Kevin Wayne Johnson. I reside on the East Coast of the US in the state of Maryland. I'm actually in Howard County in the Columbia and Clarksville area, which is halfway between our nation's capital and the city of Baltimore. I am the founder and CEO of the Johnson Leadership Group. I stood up my company about 2.5 to 3 years ago, following 34 years of total service with the federal government as a mid-level and senior level leader. And one thing that I did learn and I observed and I experienced was good leadership as well as bad leadership. So for the next several minutes, I'm going to walk you through what I believe will be very helpful in terms of becoming a person of influence. Becoming is the operative word as well as influence, because becoming is synonymous with recurring, ongoing, continual. Our learning should never stop. And then being a person of influence, this presentation is all about being a person of positive influence, positively influencing people in your family, in your social and civic organizations, in your church, in your neighborhood, everywhere that you go. When you think about your sphere of influence, let's make a positive change, because I firmly believe, and I stand on this, and it can be validated and verified, that good leaders help to make the world a much better place. So I'm going to walk you through these principles, and it's very important that you understand and gravitate toward and accept and walk in it, because these are very, very key and very, very important for our learning, for our growth, and for our development. And it's very, very key as we go along our journey to make sure that we always take the time to pour into the lives of others as well. So here's some insights to influence. First of all, leadership is influence. Really, to be honest with you, at the core of leadership, it's all about our ability to influence people, to get things done, to have the right attitude, to want to go forward, to be proactive, to see the vision and catch a hold of the vision and move forward with it. But we have to be mindful that our influence with others is not usually in all areas. So that means we need to be aware and cognizant and open and receptive to allowing others on our team who may know a little bit more than we do. They are experts in a particular area, and that's good. That's a good thing. With influence comes responsibility. I like to break this word down into two different words: response hyphen ability. Our ability to respond to what's needed with our leadership. My influence, your influence with others, like I said earlier, is either positive or negative. There's not much wiggle room in between. And our influence definitely can grow. And I'm going to show you in just a few minutes that as we grow our team and we grow our organization as well. And then last but not least, just in terms of some insights, some thoughts, some perspectives, some views, if you would. People of positive influence add value to others. We see the potential in others and we help them, we speak into their lives. We coach and we mentor them, we train them, we teach them, we show them the way, both verbally and non-verbally. So these are some insights into influence. So let's look at 10 ways to increase our influence for the balance of our time together. Remember, the title here is Becoming a Person of Influence. Needless to say, integrity is at the top of the game. A person that keeps their word, a person that walks the walk, talks the talk, shows up on time, is in the place where they say they would be, follows up on what they promised to do. Being a person of integrity will increase our ability to be able to influence them because we take away any questions at all about clarity, about confusion, or not quite understanding how or why to follow us. And so integrity is very, very important. And it really gets down to you and I just keeping our word. You know, being a person of integrity is powerful. It means a lot. And people want to follow a leader with integrity. This next one here is nurture. Now, take a look at the image and think about what that image symbolizes to you. Now, even though we all see the exact same images, because of the diversity of thought that we have, we're taking away slightly different things from this particular image. But as it relates to nurturing, we have a responsibility as it relates to our influence to help people to develop, to mature, and to be the best that they can be. And this particular plant symbolizes where they are right now in terms of their growth and their maturity. And what you can't see is as the plant goes north, the roots are actually going south. And in that soil contains all of the nutrients and all of the nutrition that that plant needs to continue to grow. And so that's synonymous with how we nurture people. We give them the tools and the resources and the facilities that they need to be a success. The last thing that you and I want to do is to hire a good person and not be able to retain them because we haven't given them the tools and the resources that they need. And so at some point, this plant will have to be replanted because it will outgrow the hand that it's currently in. It's just inevitable. And so it is with us in terms of increasing our influence, helping people grow and plant them in the right position, plant them in the right opportunity so that they can continue to grow. Nurturing is not babysitting and it's not babying, but it's looking over, having oversight and helping people along their journey. Faith. Love this one, faith. I tell you, you and I can increase our influence with everyone within our sphere of influence by having faith in them, believing in them, having confidence in them, and showing them in a nonverbal way, but also speaking it verbally, letting people know, you know, I have the utmost faith in you. I believe that you can get this thing done. Because a lot of people doubt themselves. They don't think that because they don't have the proper education, the necessary experience, the needed qualifications, that they can't perform in a particular area. And I have seen time and time again, that's just not the case. They need someone that has faith in them. So speak positivity into the people that are within your sphere of influence. This next one here, as you can take a look at the body language, something's not right. Something's not clicking. There's a disagreement here. There's a disconnection here. So you and I need to be better listeners. I'm not sure if you were aware of this or not, but we speak at a rate that's much lower than the rate with which we hear. We speak at about 180 words a minute, but we listen at about 350 words a minute. So there's a constant disconnect, potentially, unless we take the time to become better listeners. It's a skill that all leaders need to have. So let me walk you through this. First of all, when someone is speaking, and as we increase our ability to listen better, look at the speaker, ask questions. More importantly, ask thought-provoking questions and open-ended questions, because a closed-end question will just get you the one-word response. Don't interrupt, and please don't change the subject. Those two things will drive the recipient crazy. Don't do that. Try to take the emotion out of it as best we can. And responsive listening. An example would be, was I clear? Is there anything that you would like for me to repeat or to go over with you? Anything at all that I can do to help you? And that's responsive listening, because as a person is communicating with you, they do want to know that, in fact, you are actually listening to what they have to say, even if you disagree, and that's okay, but they want to know that you're listening. Understand is another area that will help us in becoming a person of influence. This gentleman's name is David. David is super happy. He's content. He's in his own element. David is a mathematician, and mathematicians are really into these mathematical formulas and equations, and that's what's represented here on the whiteboard behind him. Now, he understands all of that stuff that's behind him, but the key is, does his audience? So there's calculus and algebra and trigonometry and a number of other mathematical formulas that are on this whiteboard behind him. And most people don't understand at all what it is that he's talking about and what he's doing. So in order to become a person of influence, we do have to take the time out to understand people. Where are they in their personal and professional development? Take an interest in knowing what their likes are. What are their interests? What are some things they do as hobbies outside of the workplace, etc.? Because when you do that, now you're opening up an opportunity for people to have a conversation with us, and they're not walking around internalizing everything that may be happening in their life. Now, I mentioned just a little bit earlier in this area of enlarging, and I said it a little bit differently, but I knew I would get to this particular graphic. We have a responsibility to enlarge people, and before we help someone else grow, let's grow ourselves. So leaders are learners, and leaders are readers. I read a book a month, minimum, all right? If I'm on the airplane, I can literally, depending on where I'm traveling, I could actually read a book on the airplane. And it helps to grow who I am, give me different insight, different views, different perspectives. I have an opportunity to look at life personally and professionally through a slightly different lens, because I'm able to read and get new knowledge and information and understanding. So as we grow ourselves, then we grow our people. And then as we grow our people, now we grow the organization, and everybody benefits. But it starts with us being a person of influence, enlarging others. In alignment with that, you and I are navigators. We are like GPS. So whether you use your GPS on your phone or in your vehicle or any other gadget that you might have, you'll notice that that navigator helps us to get from point A to point B in the minimum amount of time. And it also kind of takes a look at some of the obstacles that might be in the way and gives us the opportunity to recalibrate and reroute. And so it is with us. People that are within our sphere of influence, we have an opportunity to help them go west when in fact they're going east, and we know they should go north, but perhaps they're going south. And we can step into their lives and help to navigate. So that's what a person of influence does, is help people to navigate the journey. Imagine yourself just driving on a country road. You know, you have to deal with potholes and speed bumps and curves and hills. Imagine yourself driving in inclement weather. You have to be very, very cognizant of the gear that you shift into to help with your driving in the snow or on ice. And what we're doing is we're navigating along our journey. And so it is with a person of influence. Connects. How well are we connecting with people, and how well do we connect others together so that they can be the best that they can be? So another way that we can increase our influence is by connecting with people. And I tell you, just very, very informally, again, asking people how you doing. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. How's the family? Hope things are going well. Anything interesting happened over the weekend? We're just making a connection with people, and it's very important. And this is how we increase our influence. Now, this kind of goes hand in hand with growing people and also navigating for people, and that we empower them. And so that awesome responsibility of being able to delegate people, to empower them to do all that they can do, give them very clear, concise, and crisp instructions and guidance and guidelines as you want them to walk toward that desired outcome. And then coming back and saying, now, make sure that you come back to me if you have any questions. If there's anything at all that I can do to help, just let me know. And then we get out of their way. No micromanaging, let them go for it. Let them figure it out. And that's how we empower people. And when you empower people, you're putting faith in people. You're building their confidence. You're having them to be more bold, and you're preparing them for the next level, because oftentimes you and I see things in people that they can't see in themselves. And I'll conclude here. I want you to be mindful of what you do as a leader. Again, whether you're frontline, mid-level, or senior level, 5 years of experience, 10, 15, 20, 30 or more. This is very key, and it's very important, because we have a responsibility to reproduce others so that we can pass that baton and they can continue to run. 85% of leaders do attract followers. So it's not that difficult. It's not that challenging to attract followers, because people do need to be led. 10% of leaders attract other leaders, but only 5% of leaders reproduce other leaders. And this is key, and this is very important. So in order for us to increase our influence, we need to be diligent about other leaders that we're able to produce and other leaders that we are able to put in place when you and I move on to our next assignment. So I want to thank each and every one of you again so much for the opportunity to spend some time with you, to deposit some strategies and principles for you to think about, for you to put in place. I really appreciate this opportunity. And I am just extremely excited to be around for the entire conference. Anything at all that I can do to help, support, and advocate, don't hesitate to let me know. This is Kevin Wayne Johnson. Thank you all so much, and I look forward to meeting you one day. God bless.
Hello, my name is Ronaldo Randall. I am a life, leadership, and business strategist. I am here to talk to you all about making room for your next level mindset. So hopefully some of you all were able to see my short talk earlier, and we're going to dive in a little deeper into that information. So what I like about mindset is a lot of things that you'll get in this conference, you can actually hire somebody to do. With your mindset, you can hire somebody to help you with it, but the mindset is yours. You got to build it, you got to maintain it. And so we're talking about next level mindsets, and next level is important because we're coming hopefully out of a pandemic. And so we need next level thinking to be able to move us forward. So let's just get into it. So today we're talking about, and just to give you an idea of the agenda, because I'm going to go a couple different places. I want to talk about SMART goals, because obviously goals are at the center of everything you do. If you have a dream without goals, you are just dreaming. So we're going to talk about 7 goal areas that I would recommend for everybody to be holistic. We're going to talk about mindset as promise as a focal point, and I'm going to give you 4 pillars as one of the mindset points, because I feel like it's the one where people struggle at the most. So the 10 steps of mindset acquisition and maintenance, those that have seen my earlier talk will be very familiar with it. Those that haven't, put on your seatbelt because we're going to go. So 10 steps of mindset acquisition and maintenance, acquisition and maintenance, acquisition and maintenance. So I'm going to list them. We'll go over them in a little bit more detail as we move through this workshop. But the first one's decision. The second one's discipline. Obsession is the third. Personal development, self-talk. Tighten up your circle. One of my favorites, help people. Gratitude, be uncomfortable, and balance. So this will be a great screen to take a screenshot of, just so you have them all on one page. So if you want to take a screenshot, here's a perfect opportunity to do it, to take a picture with your phone. 10 steps of mindset acquisition and maintenance. So we're going to start with the decision, right? Because the beginning is the most important part of the work. And so you have to make a decision. You have to decide, you have to make a decision to make a decision. That becomes the vision of whatever you do, right? And so I have a brand called Next Level Entrepreneur Vision Plus Action, right? So you have to have a vision before action. You don't want to put the action before the vision, because those without vision perish, they lost. So you want to come up with the why. So why are you doing what you're doing? And what's the why that'll keep you in the race, right? When things get difficult, when things get hard, what'll keep you in the race? So I like to say, use it as an acronym, what horrifies you, right? Because some people will be moved into action by the things that they're afraid of more than the things that they really feel like they should be doing it for, if that makes sense, right? So get that. Let me say it again. Some people be moved into action because of things that they're fearful of. Like fear will make you move more than I want to do it for myself. Really that one, but more than even I want to do it for my kids, right? And so knowing what your why is important. In your notes, I'll write that at the top. What's my why? And then do something tangible. So a lot of people think about things and they never start. So you got to start, because the beginning is the most important. The most important part of the work. So do something right away. So right now you did something. You joined a conference and you're going to get a lot of information. I would suggest doing something that requires a little bit of uncomfortability, right? Like put some money on it. Tell somebody that's a mentor or somebody you feel that you respect. So that way, if you don't do it, you're going to look back, and that'll help you be motivated. And then ultimately, set your goals. And so we're going to talk a little bit about goal setting as we transition, because you got to have the vision. In order to get to the vision, you got to have goals to get you to the vision. All right, so 8 goal areas that I suggest, right? This is another opportunity for you to screenshot. If you write fast enough, write it down, or, just take a picture with your phone. So number 1, and let me just go ahead and say right off the bat, these are not in any particular order. In fact, you should put it in the order that best pertains to you, right? Like your moral compass. If those are familiar with Maslow's hierarchy of needs, if you're not, look it up. It's that pyramid that says you need food, clothing, shelter at the bottom. And then once you get that, everything else goes up, right? You get more sophisticated. So some of you all might choose to use that as a tactic when looking at this. But here are the goals. You put them in the order that make the most sense to you, but you need to have a goal for each area. So financial goals, intellectual goals, family goals, spiritual goals. That probably should go at the top. Physical goals, career goals. If you are a parallel entrepreneur, right? If you're still working and you're still doing your entrepreneur thing. Social goals. And then finally, my favorite, entrepreneurial goals are one of my favorites. And so those are the 8 goal areas that you need to have. And we're going to talk about these are the goal areas, but you got to get really detailed in the type of goals you're setting to get your vision rolling. So we're going to talk about SMART goals. And some of y'all may not be familiar with SMART goals. Not sure where everybody's at in the understanding of everything. And so we're going to, no entrepreneur, no child left behind, right? So we're going to make sure we cover the basics, because the foundation is important. Think about when you're building a house. The foundation is important. People spend time on the foundation. And so I'm spending time today on the foundation And then you can build the house up around you, right? You can replace shingles, you can replace windows, you can replace doors handles, locks, you can replace all that stuff. Those are the peripherals, but this foundation got to be set and they got to be set right. So here we are. So goals need to be SMART, S-M-A-R-T. It is an acronym. It means specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely. Specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely. And so let's just dig into a little bit about how you can make those goals that I just talked about, SMART goals. All right, so we are looking at the acronym, so I just blew it up a little bit. So let's say you want to lose weight, right? Because it's the time of year for first quarter, people want to lose weight. And so that's a big goal. And let's say you want to lose weight and you say, I want to lose weight. 2021, I want to lose weight. Well, you got to make that SMART. Well, how do you make it SMART, Ronaldo? Well, what you do is you make it specific. I want to lose weight, but I want to lose a certain amount of weight, right? Maybe I also want to gain muscle, right? Or maybe I want my waist to be a certain width. So make it specific and then measurable. So how do you know when you've reached it, right? So if you make it specific enough, it's easy to measure, right? I want to be a 28 in the waist for a guy, maybe. I want, I want my dress to fit that I wore 3 years ago when I was my ideal weight. Then you want to make it achievable. It's in your power to accomplish, right? So think about, have you ever done this before? Like, have I ever lost 25 pounds or 60 pounds before? Have I ever done it before, right? And do I have time to do it? What am I going to set in place to make that happen? And realistic, right? Can you really realistically achieve it? And maybe the time you set for yourself. So if you put 3 weeks, maybe not, but you put 6 months, maybe, right? But once again, have I ever done it before, right? So you have to be realistic with, and we're not trying to kill dreams with realistic. You should be ambitious, but you still need to be realistic. And then timely, ultimately, when's it going to happen, right? When exactly are you going to accomplish this? And maybe you need to set milestones along the way so you don't have this big lofty goal. And you're like, wow, I got to lose 50 pounds. So that can be tough sometimes. But if you say, okay, week by week, let's break it down. I want to lose a certain amount of pounds a week or month. And that can help towards the timely fashion, right? And so SMART goals. So the goals that I mentioned here, right? The 8 goal areas, we want to make them specific, measurable, achievable, and realistic. Timely is important too, right? Speaking of time is the most precious commodity that we have. It is also a scarce resource. And I like this. I'm going to read this right off the screen. This is good. Y'all should write this down and put it up on a sticky somewhere so that you realize how precious time is. In a time that we're experiencing in the world now, we realize that time ain't in promise, right? And so here it is. It's been said that time is free, but it's priceless. You can own it, but you can't own it, but you can use it. You can't keep it, but you can spend it. Once you have lost it, you can never get it back. I think that bears reading again. It is the most precious commodity, right? And I call it a scarce resource. It's been said that time is free, but it's priceless. You can't own it, but you can use it. You can't keep it, but you can spend it. Once you have lost it, you can never get it back. And so we need to be productive as people and as business people and as entrepreneurs because we're busy. And so we need to be productive, right? We got to run a tight ship. And so every entrepreneur wants to be productive. Not only that, though, we need to be productive, right? It's important that we're productive with the time we have. Everybody has the same 24 hours. Why is it that some people get more done than other people, right? Why is it that some people are more stressed trying to do the same things that you and I do in a 24-hour period? So we need to be productive and we want to be productive. And so let's talk about productivity, right? In life and as an entrepreneur, as it pertains, and this is mindset stuff, right? All right, so productivity looks different for people. Yep. So the way you are productive may be different from the way I am productive. I may do a to-do list. I mean, your business is different than mine. Your life is different than mine. You know, you may have a different amount of kids. You may not have kids. You may be married. You may not. You may have a significant other. There's all these different variables that go into what productivity looks like for you, and automation and all these different things. But the feeling is universal. So you know when you feel productive. You know when you feel productive. You know when you don't feel productive. And so we need to work on that for each and every one of us, and it's unique to you, right? But there's some universal rules and laws that we can all share and use. And so this is a perfect time to talk about discipline, because you have to be disciplined to make sure that you keep your time and productivity in different buckets. Don't let people waste your time and drain your energy. And I know it's happened to everybody at some point in your life. But this discipline is going to help out a little bit. And I think we're going to spend some time on discipline, right? Because I think this is where we get caught up, right? People are just not disciplined. You know it. I know we've been in points in our lives in some areas of life where we just can't stay committed to a thing. That's why we go get coaches, right? And that's why we do different things to try to keep ourselves accountable. But let's talk about discipline. Let's spend some time here. So discipline is, and this is my paraphrase of somebody's quote, doing what you said you would do when the feeling you said it in goes away. It's left you. That's just like I was on the 300 push-up challenge, and I still do it. But when you get up in the morning, you don't feel like doing it on some days. Well, it ain't about what you feel. It's about the discipline. It's not about how you feel about it. It's about the discipline. So discipline, if you can capture this definition of it in my words, doing what you said you would do when the feeling that you said it in goes away. And this is why you have to practice this type of discipline. The second thing, right? Hoop Gaines said, we must all suffer one of two pains. We're all suffering one of two pains, the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. The difference is discipline weighs ounces, little bitty weight, discipline, right? While the regret weighs tons, heavy weight. And so process that a little bit, right? Discipline is difficult. Habit forming things is difficult until you form the habit. But at the end of the day, 10, 15, 20, 30 years into the future, you're going to wish that you exercise that discipline, because in the grand scheme of things, it was lightweight stuff. Because at the end of the day, when the rooster comes, when the hen comes home to roost, the regret is what's going to weigh tons, right? I wish I coulda, shoulda, woulda, right? And so discipline. So let's dive into discipline a little bit more. We're busy people. Even as you're watching this, some of this stuff is probably happening, right? You got notifications from some of your social media outlets. There's email, there's a call, there's a text. So we're busy, we're distracted a lot. And so a major part of being disciplined is removing distractions. And so you all know all the different distractions out there. So just think about, in fact, write down a couple of distractions. These are distractions I put out there: notifications, text, Slack, email, social media, pings, calls. So go ahead and write down. Take about 30 seconds to write down things that distract you. They distract you. So call them out, write them down. Things that distract you. You know what they are. Call them out about 30 seconds to do that. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, write them down, 1. All right, so write that stuff down, because those are things we need to extinguish. All right, so let's talk about productivity and the power of systems. So I know that somebody's probably talked about automation and some types of systems in this in the conference, but let's talk about systems that you build for yourself, right? And we talk about systems for our business, but let's talk about systems you build for yourself. And I'm gonna revisit this later on too, but I'm gonna stay in line. So what are systems? Very simply, right? I like this losing weight concept right now, because I know that everybody want to lose weight. I want to lose weight. Everybody's in a perpetual state of wanting to lose weight or getting better physically, which was outstanding, right? Because there's no sense in being wealthy and not healthy, right? You can't have wealth without health. I know everybody here wants to not only be rich, you want to be wealthy because you can spend rich, right? So let's say you say losing 10 pounds may be a goal. That's my goal. I want to lose pounds. And we talked about how to make that smart, right? We can break that down. I want to lose 10 pounds by this time. This also means a reduction in my waist and my body mass, body fat index, right? You can make it smart. But the system is learning to eat right. Systematic things that will feed into your SMART goal to help you accomplish your goal. And what does the system do? The system ensures that you reach the end result. The system, the to-do list, the thing that you put in place, that you make a habit as a part of your discipline regimen, ensures that you get the end result that you wanted. And so systems, part of discipline. So I'm gonna go ahead and lock in and give you all 4 pillars for creating systems that are conducive to the next level mindset. All right, so pillar number 1, and you all probably heard this before, because all knowledge is borrowed. Nothing's really new under the sun in the space of success in business, right? It evolves, but like basic tenets are basic tenets. And so pillar number 1 is develop a system that works for you. I mean, simple. Figure out what works for you, because what works for you may not work for me. But at the end of the day, it's gonna feel the same to you and me when we're winning on that front, right? And so develop systems that work for you. And so you got to figure out, do you use your smartphone to do stuff? Are you a to-do list person? Are you able to do things later? Are you able to do things in the morning? When do I operate at the best? Who do I help? Who do I get to help me do certain things? When I put the kids to bed, when do I wake them up? When is my quiet time where they don't bother me? So you got to create the systems that work for you. Remember, we all have the same 24 hours, and what you do with it is what differentiates you from the highly successful person. And so first pillar, develop systems that work for you. Not for me, not for anybody else, work for you. Understanding though, nothing's new under the sun. And the feeling that you get when you've accomplished this is universal. All right, early bird gets the worm. Get up. You got to get up. You got to get up. I know. You know what? I try to buck this a little bit, right? Since the COVID, I started getting up a little later, but I said I also started being up later, right? So I'm up to 3 o'clock in the morning. I wake up a little later, about 9. And, I'm like, well, it bounces out. Nah, there's serenity and peace in the morning. There's quietness in the morning. Plus, if you have other people that you're accountable to, the day hours has to be split between everything that's on your goal list, right? And so, like I said, like and you've heard my other talk, like my list of importance is God, family. So family is important. So if I'm spending my time being very productive doing the daylight hours and I'm staying up to the wee hours of night, like there could be some imbalance there, right? That could affect other people outside of you. And, sometimes you just can't ask questions. You got to do what the successful people do. Don't ask questions, just do it. Successful person said, get on the plane, get on the plane. And so they say, get up early. And there's also, there's science behind why getting up early is beneficial. And there's science behind when you stay up late, how you think you're being productive, but you're not. And so there's all this science behind it as well. But forget all that. Do what successful people do. Follow the leader, right? Let's not overthink this. Get up a little earlier every day until you get up early enough to where you get things done that you used to get done late at night. And then build in time for those things that are important to you around you during the day, right? You don't put down what things you love when you pick up something new, right? So get up early. Kill the distraction. So we talked about that. Kill the distraction. Now, right now, go ahead and write down beside your distractions how many times in the course of this maybe 18 minutes or so you've gotten some type of ping. Some type of distraction took your eyes off me, took your thoughts off me. You thought you were multitasking. That don't even exist. It's more like project switching. You thought you were multitasking. You looked at that thing, trying to listen to me. Dedicate time to things you are supposed to be dedicating time. So I call it block scheduling. So kill the distraction. So write down real quick about how many times roughly you feel like you've been distracted since I've been talking. I'll give you 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 3.5, 3.75, 2, 1. So write down just a number, how many times you've been distracted. So you got to kill the distractions on your time. Don't let people disrespect your time. Because really, if they disrespect your time, they're disrespecting you. And you got to make people respect you and your time. So you put systems in place around that so that you make sure that you're productive. That's a way of measuring it, right? I call it the compound effect. Small things over time guarantee something. But if you're scatterbrained and you let your time be stolen by distractions, it's going to become problematic for you in your productivity journey. All right, slay your dragons. Stop being scared. You got to jump, right? Overcome. And so here's a practical thing with it. Overcome your most difficult task first. All right. Think about it, right? And this is another thing to write down. Think about it. Like, when are you most productive? When are you most productive? I know it's at 10 a.m. for me, I'm most productive. And I start to taper off. Maybe I get hungry, blood sugar drops. Maybe I need another cup of coffee later. But I know when I'm most productive, under my own recognizance, right, is at 10 a.m. And so you got to know when you're most productive and do the things you don't like first. When you're most productive, when your mind's the most focused, right? So overcome your most difficult tasks first, get them done, and you can do the lighter tasks. It probably that you enjoy to take less mental thought, right? Less mental calories to do later. That's a quick trick that works, right? And so we're about putting all these little tricks together so it's not tricky, right? So it's not overwhelming. So slay your dragons, don't be scared and overcome those most difficult tasks as a numero uno type thing as you begin your days. All right, so that's the 4 pillars. That's the 4 pillars. And that was all on discipline. I tell y'all to spend some time on discipline because that's where we struggle. So the rest is a bit straightforward. So the people that saw my talk earlier, you're gonna hear this now. You're gonna get to see some visuals. Hopefully, what I said from my audible learners and what you see from my visual learners will work to make sure that some of this stuff sticks. All right. So obsession. You've heard of obsession before. Usually, it's like if you Google obsession, you can get all the you get all the movies that deal with obsession. Like it's all in a positive light, right? It's always sexy. Obsession has always got something to do with something sexual, or it's kind of tied to something negative or something that just people have a bias towards. And so I suggest that you become obsessed with whatever it is you do. So we have decision, discipline, and obsession. These are the top 3 to acquire the mindset, right? To acquire the mindset. So you got to become obsessed with it. You got to know everything you can know about it. You got to know everything about the marketplace because you really want to know everything. You got to get fixated on it. So much so people think you're crazy. If they're not laughing at you on occasion or talking about you, your mindset's really not changing because nobody's noticing it, right? And so some things, sometimes it's going to be good things they say. Sometimes it's going to be bad things they say. But if they're not saying anything, then you're really not changing to the extent that you need to master this next level mindset, right? And it can be uncomfortable. I'll be honest, it can be uncomfortable. However, if you read and you follow people that are successful, that's always a story. That's always a story until they become successful. Then it's like I knew you could do it, but when I was doing it, when it didn't sound right to you, you were not on board with me. That's cool because the vision and the gift was given to you. It's yours, right? Not theirs. And sometimes, let me just throw this in too. Sometimes, and we're going to talk about tightening up your circle, but sometimes when you're doing things that are out of the wheelhouse of your friends and family members and those people that you usually are with, they feel threatened. They don't even know it. It's a subconscious thing. They feel threatened. And so, you have to recognize that so you're not deterred, but you become obsessed with it so you can weed out those people, right? And so you know where people stand. So obsession, be fixated. All right. Be better than you were yesterday. Personal development. Number 4. I got early as the first bullet. Like I feel like you should do this early in the day, right? Get it in your mind early in the day. It's something about your brain waves. I can't remember the exact science, but there's something about your brain waves being most receptive in the beginning of the day, in the morning. That's why people get them in the morning to try to get their state of mind in a place where it needs to be so that they can have that productive day that they're intending to have, right? And so I would say I'm a diagnose, right? Not diagnose. I'm a prescribe a healthy balance of motivational content, right? So whatever that is for you, motivational content. And I love saying this, right? Those listen to my shorter talk heard me say this, right? They say motivation don't last, and they're absolutely correct, but neither does a shout. That's why we take one every day. And if you don't take one every day, at least you take one frequently enough to stay clean. And that's what we're doing with motivation. We doing it enough to stay clean. And I suggest doing it every day. It doesn't have to be long videos, but feed yourself that good energy every day and do it early because the world is going to throw negative stuff at you and you have to be prepared to combat that. Content-rich stuff. So get content-rich stuff in, right? You got to know how to do things, right? I always say mindset supersedes skill set, but that doesn't mean you don't have a skill set. Like you need to sharpen the saw. And you get better in the area, and that's part of obsession. Like you're studying your stuff, you're getting all your stuff, but some of the content-rich stuff that you need to get needs to be a part of your session. But you need to also be a holistic type person too, right? If you're like me and you're a social entrepreneur, you need to know a little bit about some other things too, right? You don't have to be the marketing expert, but you may want to know a little bit about the marketing. You don't have to be a stock expert, but you may want to know a little bit about the stocks. You may want to be keeping up with what's going on in business in general and economics and what's going on with the presidency so that you know that, because that executive, legislation, judicial branch, that triune is that's the business of the world. So you want to know what's going on with them. So you want to stay content rich, you want to stay in the loop. But once again, do it early, a healthy dose of motivation and content rich information to keep that professional development rolling. Always a student, right? Never the teacher. Self-talk. I love this. You got to get that professional development in your mind so you can start talking to yourself, right? And if you notice, I put over there, your mental health is a priority right now. Mental health is something that's been talked about a lot. And I encourage you all, like, not to be scared of it. Mental health comes in a lot of different ways. You know, sometimes you're born with it. Sometimes it's stress induced. People are in the house. It's just unusual times, and it's been taboo, particularly in the minority communities. But it's a real thing, and so you want to make sure that you keep yourself in a good state of mind and protect your mental health. It's okay to take breaks. It's wise to take breaks. All right, so self-talk. Positive affirmation. You all have heard of the word affirmations or incantation. If you have not, go ahead and Google it. But it's essentially speaking over your life, speaking positively into your life, right? I am great. I am awesome. I am capable, right? I will win. I can win. I can, I will, I must, right? So positive affirmation, you speak to yourself. And then you want to identify, and this almost runs in, not in tandem. You do the positive affirmations regardless, right? Because you're filling the funnel of positivity that you received from your motivational stuff, probably, right? And then identify negative self-talk, right? So you have to know what your subconscious is saying, because you want to get your subconscious and your conscious to agree. Subconscious is a little man inside you that talks to you inside. And rarely, sometimes they don't agree with the conscious things you say out of your mouth, right? So those things like imposter syndrome, or where you don't feel like you're prepared, or you don't feel like you're deserving of certain things. Those are things that are that negative self-talk that's inside you. But most people that are in that place are going to remain. If you're smart, you should remain confident on the outside, right? And that's the conscious. So the positive affirmations, identify the negative self-talk, and as soon as you identify it, immediately get at it, stop it, immediately replace it with a positive thought. That's an idea I got from the what's the name of the book? Norman Vincent Peale, The Power of Positive Thinking. As soon as a negative thought comes, replace it with a positive thought, because you get so many negative thoughts. And so this is an exercise, ingenuity, right? Like negative thought, positive thought, negative thought, positive thought, right? Sometimes for every negative thought, you gotta do 3 positive. And then check in with yourself. So that's just another plug for mental health. Like, I just restarted meditation. Do whatever you need to do to check in with yourself. So a positive affirmation, identify negative self-talk, and then checking in with yourself. Tighten up your circle. When I wrote my book, Friends in Business, this concept is in here. These 10 mindset acquisition and maintenance kind of principles. This is one I almost didn't put it in by this title, Tighten Up Your Circle, but I had to, right? I had to be true to the culture. Like, I had to be true to myself, I had to be genuine. I got this from Beanie Siegel. If you don't know who Beanie Siegel is, he's a hip hop artist connected to Rockefeller Records, back in the 90s. And there's a song that he has, I think it's Feeling in the Air. So don't quote me if I'm misquoting it, but the line in it says, tighten up your circle before they hurt you. 85% of communication is nonverbal. And that's accurate-ish. But tighten up your circle stuck with me, because you have to tighten up your circle. We talked about obsession and how that could make people feel a little uneasy about you. The truth of the matter is, you are the sum total of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And so you got to tighten up your circle. It's a reflection of you, regardless if you like it or not. You lay down with dogs, they expect you to rise up with fleas, right? And you will start to emulate them, right? Those which you assimilate, you also emulate. Self-consciously, you don't even know it, right? And so you got to tighten your circle. Plus, you don't want to be the smartest person in your circle. When that happens, you need to expand your circle anyway, right? So that you can continue to be the student. Now, this doesn't mean you leave your other circle behind, but you got your time is precious. So you got to decide what you want to do with your time. And if you're trying to be wealthy, you're trying to take what you have into legacy mode because your why is that big. It's something that's necessary, right? You can't. There's another line that says, "I can't help the poor if I'm one of them." And so you have to be delicate in how you approach this, but you do need to tighten up your circle. You need to be having the same conversations. You need to be interested in the same things for the most part. But that doesn't mean you leave once again, you don't put the old things that you love down to pick up the new things that you want. And so very delicately, you need to do that. You still love them. You still want to spend time with them, but you need to spend time on the enterprise so that you can bless everybody, is the way I think about it. And hopefully that resonates with you as well. Tighten up your circle. All right, so you want to help people, right? So, and And I think everybody resonates with this. Like, yeah, most people want to help people all the time. Like, I think if people were given the choice to help people, they would, right? It's one of the top things they want to do, particularly the young millennials. You had to be a wicked person not to want to help people, particularly if you had the means. But what I'm suggesting to you today is help people when you don't have the means, right? Some sacrificial giving. And I'm talking about in multiple areas, right? So if you have a business and you can mentor a person, mentor them. Look at the picture. Lift while you rise, all right? Lift while you rise. A lot of people will help people once they reach a certain status and level in life, but I'm suggesting that you do it now. Start off doing it. Like, my first business is a nonprofit. Like, this nonprofit is still running. So I came into the entrepreneurial realm as a social entrepreneur, helping people, and everything that I do has a reoccurring narrative of where I'm helping people. And so I'm telling you, the science speaks to it, but more importantly, the heart speaks to it, right? We need to help people because you never know when you're going to find your place. You find yourself in a place where you might need help, right? And you want to make sure that you pay it forward early, help people before you even have it. The law of reciprocity, right? Like the atmosphere will bless you for helping people now. When you don't even have it, right? You'll get double for your trouble. It will pay dividends in returns. So make sure you help people. Be a philanthropist before you even should be thought of as a philanthropist, right? So help people's number 7. And gratitude. You should always be grateful. I mean, nothing is promised. Once again, you get up every morning, you have nothing to do with that. People don't wake up every morning, they have nothing to do with that. So make this sure that you're grateful. Lots of people speak about this, getting up in the morning, doing a gratitude list, but be grateful for the people that remain in your life while you go through this growth process of becoming an entrepreneur, or as things change, or your business pivots, as you come into hard times in and out of business and life and your entrepreneurial endeavors. Like, be grateful for those people, right? They will appreciate it. Say thank you. Let them know as often as possible that you are appreciative of them. If you pray, speak their names in prayer, right? Check in on them. If they're dropped in your spirit, check in on them. Like, you want to be grateful. This is important, right? Help people and grateful is more important than you think, right? Because you don't know how this is going to pay dividends for you in different ways later in life. So be uncomfortable, right? Jump. I just read Steve Harvey's book, Jump, and he told a lot of stories about him just getting uncomfortable and jumping. And this picture is actually, I didn't think about this when I put up there, but he also talks about jumping off the cliff and, getting scrapes on the way down, but that you grow your wings eventually. And so, you have to get used to being uncomfortable so that you can get comfortable. You have to get used to being uncomfortable so that ultimately you can be comfortable and not be afraid of failing. You need to fail. You need to fail faster so that you can learn faster so that you can get to where you need to be in life and business, right? And so I heard it said that the failures build you, the wins build your business. And for those that have failed, you know that you've grown from it, right? Pressure makes diamonds. And so don't be afraid to fail. Like, you got to jump, because nothing is promised. Like, time is not promised. So you got to go for it. Now be wise, but go for it. Don't overthink it. Don't pontificate over it. And, don't have paralysis of analysis. Go for it. Be wise, but jump, right? Jump. Don't overcomplicate it. And then you will become comfortable with being uncomfortable. And although you're scared, you'll do it anyway, right? Because that's the difference between, once again, a difference between successful people and unsuccessful people. They're both scared and they both don't want to do it, and it's uncomfortable for both of them. Successful people just do it anyway, right? So be uncomfortable until it becomes comfortable, and it will. Like, if you've ever worked out, if you ever done something that was hard to start and then it became easy, same rules apply to everything. The stakes may seem higher, but same rules apply. And so, and I will tell you this: some things you're scared to jump on. You're worried about what people will think about you. Well, truth of the matter is, the ones that care, the ones that matter, the ones that care don't matter. The ones that matter, the ones that don't care. I'm messing that quote up. So basically, the ones that care don't matter, right? And the ones that don't care are the ones that matter, right? And so that's the first thing. Really, that's the only thing. So you make sure that you jump out there, you be courageous, and and do those things that are purpose in your heart and your mind. So make those things come to fruition. So make sure you jump, be uncomfortable. All right, and so balance. So balance is one of the last things. Balance is actually number 10. So all the aforementioned are going to put you out of balance. And so I definitely struggle with this, and still kind of struggle with it, because you get so laser focused that you forget the other things you're supposed to do, and you get out of balance. And at certain times in your business, certain seasons in your business, this will happen. So you always have to remember that you have to stay in balance. So check out this balance, right? Everything has to have its own weight distribution, has to be placed correctly, right? Almost the temperature and the wind almost have to be right. And so just make sure that you're recognizing what's important in your life, and you're giving an appropriate amount of time to each one of those things, right? So you know how much time, in my case, I'm married, how much time my wife needs, what time my wife needs. So I need to, like, you think 15, 30 minutes isn't a lot of time? Try spending 15 to 30 minutes just talk to your wife or your significant other or whomever every night, right? That's a good amount of time to just dedicate, because usually you're running and we have kids, are running, and we're doing kids, and we're doing bills, and we're doing food, and we're taking out trash, and we're working. And so, sometimes with passing shifts, we have conversations about the business of the family, but try doing 15 minutes, right? Figure out how much time each person in your family needs. It's almost like baking a cake, right? You put this much eggs and this much the cake mix and this much milk, and you know how much each ingredient needs to be to make the cake. So take that same concept, put it in your life. You know how much your kids need. Maybe your son needs more time than your daughter on occasion. Or maybe your daughter needs more time than your son. Or maybe your wife needs more time, but you got to know how much, right? How much ingredients you need to build the cake. And that's how much time you need to make sure that your life is balanced. And so this is very important, because once again, you don't want to put down those things that you love when you pick up whatever it is you're picking up. So balance is important. And I will admit, it's not that easy, but you got to be intentional about it. And the thing, like the aforementioned, are going to put you out of balance. In fact, if they're not putting you out of balance, reevaluate, because you're doing something wrong. You should be out of balance to start, and then you need to put yourself into balance. In fact, when you get out of balance, that's when when you get out of balance, people talking about you. That's when you know you're catching traction. And once you get to that point, okay, now I gotta get this thing in balance. But you need to make sure that you check in with yourself, right, and identify that. And let the people in your household and that are around you, your friends, family, know what you're doing. Right? I know people, when they go get their PhDs, they'll let their families know, hey, this is what the commitment is. It'll be for this long. This is why I'm doing this. You got to get the buy-in from those that are around you, that will stay around you like your family. So, some people come in your life to stay. Some people come in your life to leave, and you have to figure out who those people are, right? In the spirit of tightening up your circle. And so that's my time, folks. Once again, it's Ronaldo Randall, the bridge builder, life leadership and business strategist, speaker, Amazon bestseller of Friends in Business, the blueprint for doing business with friends and family. You can go redeem your free gift from my website, friendsinbiz.com. Once you go to the website, top, just hit resources. There'll be 2 resources there for you that I think you enjoy to help you build your business and your life. And I just want to leave you all with this quote. If you change the way you look at things, the things you look at will change. That's by Wayne Dyer. So I appreciate you all's time. Hope you've enjoyed the conference, and we'll continue to enjoy the rest of the conference. Take care.
We are family. I got CEOs, they with me. We are family. Clap your hands, y'all. I got CEOs, they with me. We are family. You got to get excited when you hear speakers and authors and they're willing to share with you. That's when you need to be like E.F. Hutton and listen to what they have to say. Once again, my friends, my name is Robert Antoinin, and you have been listening live to BlackCEO's premier event for 2021, Black and Iconic. And this is day 4, This has been authors and speakers pouring into you, sharing value, giving you their message, also sharing strategies for success. So I encourage you to continue to stay tuned in and watch the closing speakers for this day. If you gain some value, I suggest that you reach out and connect with the speakers that you heard earlier today. Make sure that you share this broadcast out. Invite someone else to listen to this conference on tomorrow. Whatever you do, make sure that you take on the responsibility of connecting and collaborating with others. Here at BlackCEO, we believe that 1 + 1 is cooperation, but 1 and 1 is #11, which is collaboration. When you collaborate, you and your business can elevate. When you collaborate, that's when you and your business can elevate. So do yourself a favor, connect with one of these superheroes, one of these great men and women who've been speakers and presenters on this day, and you and your business will be the better for it. My name is Robert Antoinin, and I approve this message. Peace.